This is Richard Lynch, you're watching ilovelimerick.com, and today we're here at Merchants Quay to join the protest against the conditions at the University Hospital Limerick. What is the problem essentially? Where does the problem lie? What is the root of this?
Well, I think the root of this is actually mismanagement, and the root of it goes back to 2009 when they closed the accident and emergency departments in Ennis, Nina and St John's. And they promised that they would put the resources in place then for University Hospital Limerick. But those resources never emerged. You know, the beds didn't emerge, the doctors and nurses didn't emerge, nothing emerged. So the people of Limerick, Clare and Tipperary, were then left with only one accident and emergency department, which isn't actually equipped to deal with the volume of people that is going through there at the time. And that's essentially the problem.
You tell me why you're here today.
I'm here today because the stress that we go through, the government don't see it. The people of Limerick have had to fight for every step we take to get our health system properly done. The government just pay lip service. Every time there's a protest, they'll say, oh, we'll try do this, we'll try do that. And it's just not done.
And you lost your mother in the hospital.
My mum died many years ago in a trolley. She had a massive heart attack and she was all alone. And when we got the call, she was in a room on her own down in A&E, and it was absolutely horrendous and shocking. Shocking to have seen her in such a state on her own and nobody there. And we didn't get the call until she was gone.
It's a disgrace what's happening inside in our hospitals. People are dying and waiting on trolleys when they should be in rooms.
And why do you think that is? Whose fault do you think that is? The government?
Well, the government aren't doing enough. They're inside in cosy offices and there's people dying out in hospitals, and it could be anyone. It could be one of us inside in them hospitals and inside in the trolleys dying.
We all need a health service, and we need one that's functioning correctly and right for our people. I've got a major lung disease, and the thought of going out to the hospital at any point is just a nightmare to me, and I try and avoid it as best as possible, and we don't need that for our health service.
It's not fair on the public, surrounding areas. It's not fair on the staff, the nurses, all staff all over the UHL. Something needs to be done. Something really needs to be done.
Where do you think the problem lies?
Oh, everywhere. The lack of beds. The government, everywhere. It really needs to be sorted. It's not fair.
I'm here because I've suffered at the hands of the hospital, but I've also lost my son in the last 2 years, and he shouldn't have died.
And do you think it was the hospital's responsibility that he died?
It lies in the medical system. I don't know who to point the finger at because I've had no explanations, I've had no apologies, I've had nothing. But he was a week before his 29th birthday.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
On Valentine's Day, he saw his girlfriend. On Sunday the 14th, who was fine. On Sunday the 21st, he was dead.
And you're blaming the healthcare system.
Blaming the healthcare system.
But would you agree that the people that actually work at the hospital are really amazing and do their best?
They're trying their best. They don't have 6 hands. Doctors have to work 3 hospitals, which I found out because my own urologist works between Limerick, Nina and Ennis. That's ridiculous. They don't have enough staff. It's not on. Management is a joke. Management is a joke, and something should be done about it.
But it's not the people's fault working in the hospital, is it?
No, definitely not. No, my heart goes out to the staff on the ground out there because it's just mentally draining for them. It has to be. They must be heartbroken trying to do the job they're doing, and to have all the skills, and the government will just not stand up and do the right thing and open the hospitals that they close.
People working in the hospital, it's not their fault, is it? It's the government's fault.
Absolutely, it is the government's fault. The workers in that hospital, porters, cleaners, nurses, doctors, you name it, they are doing their level best. You see SIP2 represented here today. They're representing the workers in the hospital. They will be speaking on behalf of the workers in the hospital. The workers in that hospital are overworked, they are overtired, they are overwhelmed by the situation, and there is the issue of bad management in the hospital as well that they have to deal with.
And Liam, what do you think the solution is?
Well, opening the A&Es that aren't open full time now, and raising pays for the doctors and nurses because they're not being paid enough. They've no will to work and they're being run off their feet inside in the hospitals.
And what's the solution, do you think?
Well, for us in the Midwest Hospital Campaign, we would say that we have no Model 3 hospital in this region. We're the only region that doesn't have a Model 3 hospital, and we believe we should have a Model 3 hospital in Ennis. which would have an accident and emergency department, which would cater for more people in the Midwest than just all of them going into a University Hospital Limerick.
Michael, what do you think the solution is to this problem?
The same solution that's on everyone else's mind, to open up the 3 A&Es. I mean, it all started back then in 2009 when they closed them down. And over the years, look at the state of the way the UHL has gone. They call it a centre for excellence. It's nothing but a disastrous zone out there. So they need to reopen them, alleviate all the waiting times.
Listen up, HSE! Give us back our A&E! 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 Listen up, HSE! Give us back our A&E!
Listen up, HSE!
Give us back our A&E!
Listen up, HSE!
Give us back our A&E!
Listen up, HSE!
Give us back our A&E!
The people of Clare, Limerick and Tipperary are told often enough that we should consider other options instead of presenting at University Hospital Limerick for treatment. What other options? And for years now, campaigners like Marie McMahon, Melanie Cleary, Conor Reedy, Mike Daly and many others have been courageously speaking out, largely ignored. There has been acknowledgement from some quarters that a very significant mistake was made when direct access to Ennis, Nina and St John's was withdrawn. Recently, a Professor Lyons, who was a former clinical director of University Hospital Limerick, he stated only 5% of patients coming into University Hospital Limerick actually require critical care. He maintains the vast majority of patients could be treated appropriately in our local hospitals, but if they were properly upgraded. So why are the TDs in the Midwest not calling for this? This has to be done. We need to reopen Ennis, reopen Nina and reopen St John's emergency departments now. Thank you very much.
We represent the interests of 15 to 1600 workers in UHL and the surrounding hospitals and the National Ambulance Service. For the last number of years we have been representing workers, particularly in the pandemic, who went to work every day knowing that they were putting their lives and the lives of their families in danger. Unfortunately, right throughout that crisis, some of our members paid the ultimate sacrifice by giving their lives on behalf of their community. Those workers deserve better. There is a huge problem in the Midwest. And that problem stems back to 2009 when decisions were taken politically to completely destroy the A&E service available to us in the Midwest. They didn't apply common sense or physics, because if you try to put a pint of water into a half-pint glass, all you're going to get is one big mess. And that is what we have been left with.
I think at this stage everyone knows who my daughter Eve is and why I'm here. Eve's treatment in UHL ended her life and a nightmare began for our family. By closing our 3 A&Es, people like Eve are dumped in corridors in very dangerous conditions. For a long time I blamed myself for this. Why didn't I know how sick Eve was? I'm her mother. Recently though, I've made peace with myself in the realisation that Eve was wheeled out of UHL critically unwell, and seeing the recognition from consultants that our 3 A&Es never should have been closed. Our family has never been listened to by local politicians when we've approached them for help. And the Minister for Health continues to ignore my emails to meet with our family. Over the years, I've had messages and phone calls from other families that have sought advice on their loved ones. How sad is this, that we have been so let down in the Midwest that we seek help from other victims of UHL. I'd like to acknowledge today the fact that Aoife Johnson, her family are here. Her parents couldn't be with us today. They're organising Aoife's month's mind mass today. Aoife was failed by UHL and the HSE in the same way my daughter Eve was. Actually, their stories are very alike. Aoife, I look at her picture and I think, my God, with her blonde hair and her beautiful face, how could this have happened again? And I want to acknowledge here today the bravery of Aoife's beautiful sister. I can see her looking up at me. And those beautiful pictures. Rest in peace, Aoife. Rest in peace, Eve. At some point in all our lives, we're going to need an E&E. People need to feel safe and to know that they are safe. Eve asked all the right questions about her care, and she should be here today. This is no longer a health crisis, it's a national disaster. Eve deserves better. We all deserve better. My children deserve better.
The people have spoken and they have said enough is enough. So at the start of this I said this is not the end. This is only the beginning. This is only the beginning of a campaign of people power that will change healthcare in the Midwest. Thank you all.
How do you feel after today?
Delighted to see the turnout. People are angry, but something needs to be done.
Does this, I know nothing could ever make you feel better, but does this at least make you feel there's a possibility something is going to be done about this
There
horrible?
might be a little glimmer. I just hope I live to see it.
Thinking about you.
Thanks, Richard.
So after this today, do you have hope for the future?
I do. I didn't expect the turnout today. I'm shocked at it. So I do. I hope they listen to us now.
And is this helping you cope with your grief in some way?
It is, because this is what I've ploughed myself into. Eve has gone 3 years and 6 months exactly today, so it's what we've pushed ourselves into, you know.
Well, we're all thinking about you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you.
Mike, you're happy with the turnout?
Yeah, it was a fabulous turnout now, Richard, in fairness. I mean, there's thousands here, and the powers that be should listen up now. Do you know, what does it take from, it needed to be a massive crowd for them to say, oh, well, everyone is behind this, it's not just a few. You know?
What's the next step now?
Well, we have a few plans in place, but hopefully we don't need to use them. I mean, we hope now after this that the politicians gather together and they lobby the government, and the people out in UHL, they call a meeting and they say, look, after what we've seen in Limerick today, we need to reopen. It's what the people want. Well, I'm not going to discuss what we have for the future, but there is something in place in case they don't reopen. We need to force them to reopen, and we'll give it our best.
Thank you so much for doing this today. I really appreciate you. This is Richard Lynch. You've been watching ilovelimerick.com. We'll see you soon.